Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This one is for Booktober, and if you don't know what Booktober is this series challenge thing that I'm doing where every day for the month of October I will be reading a book that is either spooky or I guess horror, mystery, thriller, dark academia related, something related to October, something befitting of the autumn month, I guess, because I love celebrating. So today's day is like the 9th day for Booktober. So for the 9th day, I decided to review Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And if you don't know what Ninth House is about the main, there's like two main characters really, Alex and Darlington. This person, Alex Stern, she was raised on the wrong side of the tracks, I guess, in LA. She was raised by a hippie mom in LA, and she had been able to see ghosts since she was a little girl, and it's been really tough on her, really tough. She ended up like going into a life of, how do I say this? A very unsafe lifestyle. Became dependent on drugs in order to kind of null the pain and stuff like that. Or not the pain, but just like be visions of ghosts and stuff. Something big happened while she was living in LA to the point where, should I just say it? Yeah, okay. She was the sole survivor of a homicide case where like there were multiple deaths and she was the only one who survived. And she just so happened to be picked up by Yale. Yale heard about this and they were like, we want you in our school. And she was like, why? I literally am like not qualified for your school. And they're like, yes, that may be so, but you can see ghosts. And she's like, why does that have to do with anything? And they're like, because us, Yale, a prestigious academy, blah blah blah, or not academy, what is it, a college, right? It's like a good college, it's Ivy League or whatever. And they were like, yeah, we got skeletons in the closet. Actually, we are also into the occult. We are very much into the dark arts, yes. And we have 9 houses, I guess? We have 9, right? They have 9 houses? Or was it 8 houses and the 9th house was just a play on? Anyways, we have houses. It's kind of Harry Potter-like. They have like different disciplines, different things that they do. And one of our houses deals with the dead. And we need you, a person who can see ghosts, because of the way that the dead just kind of tends to linger at Yale. Probably because we be doing some very shady stuff in there, so we just need you to kind of like help out in like exorcising the place and kind of keeping it a safe space for us. So she was like, okay, I guess I could come on. I mean, I got nothing else to do. All of my associates have passed away in this homicide case, so yeah, sure, I could do that. And so they go, so she goes to Yale and all that. And this book is strange in the way that it's divided between 2 timelines. Like there's like a timeline like the before versus the after, and the before is like, you know, all this setup and stuff like that. She meets Alex, she meets the secondary main character. His name is Darlington. And why is his name Darlington? I don't know. But Darlington, he is like the exact opposite of Alex. He was not born on the wrong side of the tracks. He was born to own the tracks, obviously. As you can tell by the name Darlington, he is very much one of those like rich old money type beats. He's very conscientious of himself and of his bearing, how he presents himself. He's super formal. And like, I guess like he's like a gentleman, like a dandy gentleman guy, and very old-fashioned. And he is supposed to be Alex's mentor for the exorcism class. Not class, it's like the exorcism club house thing. And he's supposed to be her mentor and all that. And that's like the before timeline. And in the after timeline, he's gone. He just like, he was taken into the underworld, and she was like, it's all my fault. It's all on me and stuff like that. I should have been there for him, etc., etc. And everybody else is like, yeah, no, I agree. It is your fault. It should have been you instead of him. However, and you're the entire time you're sitting there thinking like, what did she do? What could have gone wrong, etc., etc., right? And then when you actually read what happened, you're like, oh, why do they think you did it, girl? Why? Girl, it could have happened to anybody. It's racism is what it is. It's racism, elitism, classism, all that, you know. They see her as gum beneath their shoe, so it's like, of course y'all would think that it's her fault because y'all assign roles and responsibilities arbitrarily based on prejudices of who should be in the serving class, but not me. And so I was just kind of sitting there like, okay, but like, you didn't actually do this on purpose. I mean, like, I will say, I mean, like, yeah, you could have done more for it, but it's one of those things where it was like, you were reaching out your hand and I didn't grab it in time. Whatever. Like, that's not your fault. It just happened. Some things just happened. Like, girl, it's not like you pushed him to it. I guess I'm mad because the entire time I thought she purposefully did stuff for him to go missing. I thought she purposefully like tried to kill him off or something like that, and it was just like, no, it was just a heat of the moment thing that she was just not very great at responding to. And I was just like, okay. My thoughts on this book. So there were some things in this book that talked about classism, but like classism in terms of, like I said, all this stuff about racism, classism, elitism, and how people divide themselves into dichotomies and the way that they view the serving class and how they assign that serving class role to others who are not in that prestigious minority, or yeah, and it is a prestigious class of like specific characters and stuff like that. And it talked about that and how oftentimes immigrants are also preyed upon because of their unique vulnerability to the system and all that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can see what you're doing. And some people have actually talked about this topic before, about like what Leigh Bardugo was doing with that topic in this book, and some people have their opinions on that, and honestly I can kind of like understand and see what they're saying in that regard. If you want to, I don't know, if you want to see what one person is saying, at least I think like I would recommend read with Cindy, well, with Cindy, it's now with Cindy, the channel with Cindy. She had a review about Ninth House and how Ninth House kind of employs this narrative about vulnerable, like people who are vulnerable to the system, people who are easily taken advantage of because of their class, because of their circumstances and stuff like that. However, it also kind of falls short and stuff. So you can like watch her review on that. But me personally, the entire time I was thinking like, yeah, these are like very interesting and very good concepts to expound upon. But the entire time I was like, so like, where's the academia aspect of dark academia? Don't get me wrong, like, yeah, they're at Yale, but like, I don't see any studying being done. Maybe it's because the main character herself is just not like, I mean, like, yeah, like you see like what, 1 chapter, 2 chapter about her talking about her classes, and then that's it. Mostly you see like underworld stuff, dark stuff, whatever, right? And I'm like, this would be so interesting to talk about the cult mentality in these like academic settings, how we think of like cults and paganism as something so backwards, as something like, oh my gosh, like you guys are like so unprogressive, that is so superstitious, there you go, superstitious of you. And yet in these settings of very like advanced thinking, progressive thinking, you would think that like you wouldn't be so prone to falling into those cult mentalities, those like, oh, mob mentalities, I guess, those like hive minds and stuff. However, because of the way that like you're being fed certain information from a certain somebody, you kind of are more susceptible to that hive mind. And that would have been so interesting if it were actually related to the dark academia aspect of it, because okay, y'all are about to get a whole rant about this, but my qualms with dark academia is the fact that it's just an aesthetic. It's just done for the aesthetic. You guys open a book, you guys have a brown sepia filter, and all of a sudden it's dark academia. Like, no girl, tell me about your English classes that are coming up. Tell me about those essays that you have to write that you're putting into chat GPT for. Tell me about those calculus classes and how they're teaching you about limits, but you're reaching your limit trying to learn about them. Tell me about those, like, those specific classes and how those can be turned dark. When I first got into dark academia, that's what I thought it was. I didn't think it was like reading and then there could be like a murder in the library. Like, girl, like, that's not dark academia. That's not an everyday, but like, it's just murder at the library. Like, girl, okay, what? Think about it. Like, you could have this setting where they are supposed to be studying like a certain, like, they do actually do this. They do parts of it where they're studying dead languages for the dead in order to speak to the dead and be like, stay back, dead people, stay back, and all that. So like, I guess like you learn some of those things too, in like the way that there's this one house where it's an old thing that people used to do. I mean, I guess some parts still do it, where they do divination based on bones. Like, they tell prophecies, fortunes and stuff like that based on like cracks in the bone and stuff like that. But like, this house kind of takes it a step further by like taking a dead body, like a human body, and then like looking through the bones of it and stuff and being like, oh, okay, so like the winning lottery numbers for next year are, or like the stocks for Bing are really increasing in the next 5 years, we better invest, etc., etc. And I'm like, that's interesting. That is. However, most of what we get is like, it was a dark and stormy night. This is the setting. Think of England. Think of New England. And yeah, that's it. Yeah. There's a dead body or two. But I don't know. I felt kind of, I'm so sorry, but I really thought that there was going to be more academia in this. I guess like that's my own qualms with dark academia, because of the fact that like I think dark academia means that you're actually going into these academic settings and doing something with the academics, but not really. It really isn't, is it? Like, what, they quote to you Plato or Socrates for a bit and then they're like, oh yeah, that's dark academia. And it's like, girl, what? That's an Instagram post. That is a Pinterest board. That's a Tumblr post. Like, say something different. Like, do something with dark academia. I'm sorry, I didn't even like actually state my opinions about this book. It was fine. It was fine. This book is best enjoyed when it's night or like dark out in some way. I don't think this book should be read in the daylight. And it's not because it's a bad book or it's a badly written book. I actually did enjoy parts of this book. There were parts of this book that were really hard to get through though. I'm sorry. It was just like, I was not expecting all of that. And I was listening to this on a car ride back home, and I was just kind of sitting there like appalled, very appalled. Some of the stuff in here is not for the faint of heart, and I don't know, it may seem excessive to some people, honestly, because of the way that it's so bad. I guess, I don't know, some people may not actually find this so terrible, but just like to let you know, there are graphic scenes of SA, and I mean, like, of course, like, there's death, but like, you kind of like know that going in, but I was not expecting the SA. I was like, we're not safe? We can't even read about death and be safe about stuff? Like, however, although it was like well written, I will give it that, it was well written. I feel like the pacing was fine and everything was given its own lore. It was interesting. It was an interesting book. It didn't feel like dark academia. It felt like dark Greek life. You know, like dark sororities, dark fraternities and stuff like that, because of how the houses themselves feel like fraternities and sororities. And those are based off of Greek life, which is based off of, you know, like early ancient cult societies and stuff like that. So I feel like I don't know, maybe there should be a different genre for that, like dark Greek life. that would be something, but it didn't really feel like dark academia. And it's mostly, I guess, because Alex herself is not an academia girly. She's just studying to be able to survive her classes, and she's swimming in all of it. But I mean, she's not really enjoying any of it, or even like thinking about how they're applicable to her exorcism, her ghost hunting, or anything like that. And I guess like the only person that would be interested in all that is Darlington. And Darlington is kind of just more of a liberal arts major, if you know what I'm saying. Not to dunk on anybody who is liberal arts, but I'm just saying like it's not exactly moving away from the stereotype of what dark academia is about, especially in Yale and stuff. We write about what we think dark academia looks like, when oftentimes it can look like different things to different people. I'm just salty because nobody's ever written a dark academia, like STEM-based dark academia. It'd be so interesting to hear about mad scientists instead of like, English majors committing murders? Like, okay, can you imagine dark academia engineers? Like, imagine the inventions. Imagine dark academia architects. Like, we could be doing so many things. They could be making flying buttresses for all we know, but we don't know that because all we ever focused on are English majors. And I'm so sick and tired of this narrative, this rhetoric in books where it's like, because we are readers, we also expect others in like characters in our books to be readers too, to be very reader savvy and like book friendly and stuff like that, which is I guess why Alex Stern as like the main character, who is not much of a academics girly, is kind of refreshing to see, like a main character who doesn't care about books. Finally, not everybody gotta be a Belle, not everybody gotta be a Hermione. Some people are Ron, and that is okay. Let us be Ron. I should actually probably talk about some points of this book that I did enjoy. I did enjoy the fact that it was cult-like. I say all this crap about how it wasn't really dark academia and more dark Greek life, but honestly it kind of worked. Like every house had their own thing that they were doing, and when you find out how they manage doing the things they do, how they manage having like these like centers of energy of centers of magic and stuff like that, you will be appalled. And I kind of like that this book does try to employ those like elements of I don't know, like it doesn't shy away from those elements of dark, like actual dark, and like the school is sacrificing people, the school is doing stuff for the greater good of the school's image, the greater good of the school's advancement and betterment, and they don't treat the students like students. And it's just so, it's so good in that respect. I really liked that aspect of this book. I think most of my qualms had to be with, again, like the academia aspect actually being very underplayed. And the fact that there was a romance in this book, like, girl. I know some people won't mind the romance, like, that's fine, whatever, right? And you can guess who it's between. Guess who it's between. Guess who it's between. Are you done guessing? Because it's between Alex and Darlington, by the way. Opposites attract and all that. Me personally, I felt like the romance didn't build in the way that it wanted to build, because the thing is, like, when Darlington goes missing into the shadow realm, I guess, you know, everybody's very understandably sad and cut up about his disappearance, but most of all Alex is like, oh my gosh, like, I just know he'll come back, he has to come back. Like, I don't know, like, it's just one of those things where she's very invested in this person. She very much is like ride or die for him, and he's also the same for her, because whenever he comes back, oh, spoiler alert, he comes back but like not fully human. And so he kind of but he, like, when he comes back, he's like all like, you know, very one-track minded about coming back to Alex. Like it's almost like, you know, like your husband returned home or something like that. And it's like, that's cute, I guess, if you're into that. But where was this in the the scenes that we've seen? Because me personally, they always had more of a bickering, bantering type of relationship, and it would have been interesting if, like, instead of romance, because I feel like the romance aspect was just so underdone. It wasn't done well enough to justify them being very one-track minded about each other and very much invested in each other the way that they were, especially considering Alex is kind of used to people dying on her. I'm sorry. So it just felt kind of random to me, I guess, like the way that they're like very Romeo and Juliet about each other towards the end. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, but we gotta wrap it up anyway, so good for us. Also, there's like this part, again, I know I said like there are like trigger warnings for essay, and it happens like multiple times throughout the book, but there was this like, I don't know, it just throws me off a bit, the way that essay is described for men versus for women, because like for women it's in like very like these very disgusting details and stuff like that. It's very terrible. It's terrible. It's very graphic. This whole book is like supposed to, it's not YA. It's supposed to be an adult books, but it's supposed to be an adult book, but like it's kind of hard for some adults to read, for me personally. But when it describes essay being done to men, it kind of almost like lightly brushes it off. You know what I'm saying? It kind of is like, whoa, that was weird. That was a weird thing that happened. It was just there to like add tension, because the essay was like where Darlington was drugged in a way. Yeah, like drugged at a party, and he was very much doing something that he would not have done, in any normal circumstances, and it was like against his will in a way, I guess, because like he's inebriated, you know. It's like he wasn't really in his right state of mind, but like Alex was just standing there like, oh, I should probably get him home. And it's like, girl, that was really violating. I'm not gonna lie, like if you were to like switch the genders, that would be really, really terrible. We would be like, what? Why was he just standing there? Why was he just like doing nothing about like the fact that this person is inebriated and not like helping them out and like trying to make sure that they are not put in any more vulnerable positions? Alex did not do that, and I was like, I don't know if y'all want me to like this character. I don't know what y'all want me to do with this character, but like she's not winning any points for me. The instances between Alex's and like Darlington's encounters, I guess, with essay, I know they're different in the severity levels, I guess, but it still feels kind of off the way that like we kind of brushed off like Darlington being put in that position and then being like, yeah, no, like this was just for revealing of true thoughts or whatever, in order to show us like he is a sexual being. And it's like, he probably didn't want to be seen that way though. Are we not going to talk about that? Also, the villain in this book, like she's obviously the villain. I don't know how to describe her. I have no feelings about her, and I guess it's because of the fact that I was really not invested in the mystery the entire time. I'm so sorry, I really wasn't. I was like, yes, there are dead girls popping up and stuff like that, and then they were like, oh, it was actually this going on, and I was like, oh, that's so intriguing, that's so interesting. And then when like it was actually the villain the entire time, I was kind of like, that's a less intriguing reason for things to happen. Because the thing is, okay, so like the first reason they said that all these murders were happening was because I'm not gonna really spoil it for you, but basically it was more institutional, like the school was doing it. And I was like, that is so intriguing. That is so intriguing to think about. Like the schools are the ones doing this to their students. They are the ones creating these environments for their students when they should have been the ones to protect and watch over them. And then when they were like, oh, yeah, and also this person was doing stuff too, I was kind of like, yeah, I know the angle that you're going for. I know what you're trying to say with this angle, but why do I not care? Sue me. These are just my thoughts.